Hey Rebels, welcome back to the channel. So it's time to dive into another weekly analysis. I like to do these weekly analysis videos because I think it's always good to zoom out and kind of take a breath, take a little break from in the middle of the week because there's a lot of noise in the daily charts and there's a lot of noise out there on YouTube and across social media and on the news and everything. So it's really good to just kind of zoom out and see what the market is telling us and how can we follow this thing in real time to kind of get a read and get kind of get an edge over the other people in the market because a lot of people are trying to follow influencers to make their trade ideas. But if we can look at the market itself and read what the market is telling us, because effectively the market is all the buyers and all the sellers combined, and it plots out on a chart, we can learn how to read that in terms of strength and weakness and go back through the, previous history and see how we can get an edge in this market. It's going to help us a lot. So far right now, our composite has been playing ball to a T this entire year. Basically, it's basically the 2015 and 2020. Compile that data together and plot that. That's this red line, and then we have the blue line, which is the actual. And we can just see that the shape is following very nicely. They say that history doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes. That's very true in financial markets, where previous years will follow a very similar shape to what's playing out right now. So the last several weeks, we've seen that we've had this August high and we've been preparing ourselves for lower prices. That's exactly what has happened and transpired. And so far, it looks like we are going to see a low in September, October area, and maybe get the ball rolling in, kind of mid-October, November. So effectively, Q4 of this year is looking like it's going to be strong. The other thing that we've talked about on the channel is this seasonal period that we see in the stock market. We've also seen it in Bitcoin, and I have it highlighted here once it loads, where between the August and October period, we have kind of a sideways consolidation or a sideways consolidation or a low forming. And I'll show you that here in a second once this loads, of course. Why not? Which chart is it here? Yeah, so right now we can see that we're right in the middle of this kind of period where we find a low, sideways consolidation or a low forms, right? We kind of see lows forming during this period, kind of seasonal weakness even in the bear markets, just typically weak, or we find a low forming during those times. We can see that we have this low forming before we have a higher push. I think that that's kind of what we're seeing right now so far. So we've been prepared for this, for quite some time. Basically, I had this highlighted. This is in hindsight. I just drew a box basically from August to October and plotted that on the map when we're starting to see this weakness. We've kind of been prepared for that, okay? So the other thing that we've talked about is the 3 red week signal, and I'll walk through what has happened in the market during that time so that we can get an idea of what we can expect over the next couple weeks. We had 3 red weeks here from a significant top. Market tried to rally, couldn't quite do it, and broke down to lower prices. Had this happen a couple times during this sideways consolidation. 3 red weeks, tried to rally, couldn't quite do it, broke these swing lows down for lower prices. And again, 3 red weeks, tried to rally, broke the swing lows here down for lower prices. And again, the last signal that this worked on right over here, we had 3 red weeks. Market tried to rally, broke those lows down for lower prices. The only time that this signal didn't play out, we had 3 red weeks here and the market just rallied from there. We had very significant fear on this low. But I don't think we have enough fear in the market to have that signal play out. It's worked well over 80% of the time so far this cycle. So we can expect lower prices than we had for this 3 weeks down. We usually typically get kind of a suckers rally and a little bit of a fake out. People get excited and then the market dips against them again, only to turn around afterwards on for higher prices. So basically everybody's getting excited during this week, seeing higher prices. But if we look here, we had this fourth time breakout signal. I'll draw more lines here. It gets a little confusing, but we zoom in, at least on a weekly time frame, it looks as though we've broken below, come back up for a retest, and we're getting a rejection right now. We're getting rejected from this support and resistance right now, closing below. That is a sign of weakness. The other sign of weakness that we're seeing in real time. So we have our composite giving us an idea of the potential weakness, but what is the market telling us in real time that we can identify the current weakness, right? So we have the 3 red weeks. That was one signal. We have this trend line here from the 2017 to the 2021 peak that has acted as resistance for a very long time. We turned it into support very briefly. We're getting a breakdown of that. That's another sign of weakness. And we also have this speed line right here from the low to the high. projected off of here just to get an idea of what is the strength of this move compared to the previous move. And in the beginning, it was quite stronger, or at least equal, because it was respecting this line. And now we're starting to roll over in a larger way. But this is actually not a bad thing. This is not a scary thing, because this is typically what happens at the end of the cycle, where Bitcoin will start to show weakness and we'll see Bitcoin dominance break down. And this is when the capital rotation starts into the other altcoins, which is very exciting. So if you miss the train on Bitcoin, basically what happens is people enter the market a little bit later. They miss the boat on Bitcoin. They have to find something else. And people who were in during this bull market, people who played this correctly are starting to take profits and starting to rotate it into the other available assets in the space. So this isn't a bad thing. This is just typical of what markets do. So if we can just be prepared for potential, further downside in Bitcoin, or to get faked out before we go on to higher prices, then at the very least, we're not following the masses, where everybody basically is zoomed in on this daily time frame, getting very excited about this rally that I've seen. So either you have a lot of people calling the top every single time, trying to call the top, which typically is not good. I mean, it happens once a cycle. The final top happens once a cycle, so it's a very dangerous thing to try to call the top every time you have a local top. But the other end of that is that you have people getting a little bit too bullish, a little bit too quickly, where we can see that we've broken this trend, coming back up here, maybe a retest, higher highs, higher lows. This is all looking strong, but as we zoomed out on the weekly time frame, there were several things indicating a slowdown, indicating the potential for lower prices first. Okay, now does not have to play out that way. That's the whole thing. But we want to stack the probabilities in our favor, and so if we understand that we can see lower prices from here, it's not going to spook us out. Now, analysis and trading is different. If we wanted to start DCAing into different projects that we're seeing, that's a whole other story. I would like to make another video on different entries that I'm seeing in the market. Please leave a comment down below if that sounds interesting to you. I would really love to hear you guys. If you've stuck around the video this long, a comment goes a long ways. I would love to hear your guys' input. Tell me what's valuable, what you like about these videos, what you don't like. It's just going to help me out a lot, because I like to do this anyway. On a weekly time frame, but I also like to make other videos. I have lots of other videos on the channel, sharing lots of different technical analysis, things like that. So anyway, that's what I'm seeing in Bitcoin right now. We are seeing that temporary weakness. We have that 3 red week signal. So, according to this composite, not really expecting higher prices until Q4. That's totally fine. That basically gives us lots of time while everybody else gets afraid and leaves the market. That allows us to basically board the train empty. They say that the train leaves empty, right? So as the interest and the fear come back into the market, this is when we can actually take advantage of that, and we can start buying other people's losses and position ourselves for the next move, if that is what our thesis is, and that's what we believe is going to happen. The other thing too is we were seeing higher prices, Bitcoin and other altcoins seeing higher prices, but we're seeing that on decreasing volume. And that is a huge warning sign. We want to see increasing prices with increasing volume. That is going to increase the chances that those higher prices are sustainable. Otherwise, they come back down and they crash in a larger way. And I've talked about this many, many times on the channel and given examples and walked through the charts as far as that goes. But right now seems to be consolidating. I would love to see us stay above this $50 billion mark and consolidate above there. That would be a pretty strong sign, because we did break this long-term downtrend. And if we can consolidate kind of in this zone without dipping back down here too much lower, I think that that's really, really going to set us up for that next move. So let me dive in quickly again into Bitcoin dominance, because we talked about that a lot on the channel. We had an overbalance in time and price, which the short and the long of that is that Bitcoin dominance has been pushed down farther for longer than any other time this entire cycle. So we basically had an upwards grind in Bitcoin dominance for this entire cycle. And it's not until recently that we have actually pushed dominance down farther for longer, which is a huge indicator that the macro trends are changing, and that we're hopefully lining up for something aggressive like this, where a lot of that capital starts to rotate from Bitcoin into the other altcoins. So if you've missed out on a couple of the opportunities this cycle, that's okay. There is still time left in the cycle where you can hopefully take advantage and find some entries. Again, like I said, if you wanted me to go into some of those, I would be happy to do that. And we can do that in other videos, because that's another thing that I think would be useful. There's a lot of different things across the markets that I'm seeing right now, a lot of really good entries, even though we are considering that it's possible that we're going to have further downside, there are a lot of charts that are starting to look. You have to look at every chart on its own merit. There are a lot of charts that are showing good risk reward at the very least. Doesn't mean that they're going to skyrocket from here, but we have good risk reward across the board on a lot of different altcoins, right? So the other one that I want to show here just briefly again is the total two against Bitcoin. What have we typically seen? You know, again and again, what we see is we have a downtrend in the altcoins versus Bitcoin, and we break that trend, and then the altcoins outperform for a very short, aggressive window. I think that that's the window that we're in right now. We've broken trend, and I think we are just starting our five-wave structure to the upside, as we have seen in the previous cycles. So that's basically where I think that we're at. If any of this was valuable, please let me know. I like to do these, like I said, every once a week, and just to kind of get an idea of where we're headed. The problem with that is it's not always very exciting. It's not very exciting out on the weekly time frame when you look at these things. These things take weeks and months to play out. A lot of people don't have the patience, but I promise you, if you do have the patience to stick with it and even just once a week come in and check the charts out and kind of take a break and take a breather from the rest of the noise out there, you are going to set yourself up for success. It's helped me out quite a bit. I mean, honestly, crypto has changed my life. Like, it has absolutely changed my life. This market will change your life if you commit to getting a little bit better every day and having a longer term horizon. You can profit very heavily from these markets if you put in the time and you put in the work to just understand how these things work, how the mechanics of it work, which is what I like to do on this channel. I like to go through various market mechanics and basically just reading the tape in real time. That's what I like to do. So if that sounds good to you, please, if you made it this far, thank you very much. Please, please, please leave a comment down below. Anything helps. Leave a like and subscribe, and we're going to see you next week. Okay, guys? Just so you guys know, I'm very bullish right now at this moment, even though I know that there's a sideways consolidation or a possible low coming in. Very, very bullish. I think that what we're going to see is very aggressive. It's going to happen quick. People are basically going to get scared out of their positions, and they're going to be forced back in when they realize, like, oh shit, I missed out. I fucked up. I sold when I shouldn't have. And they're going to have to ape back in higher. But if you buy in right now, you're going to be positioned in a much better spot, risk reward wise, as far as that goes. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I mean, I don't like to get super bullish or super bearish, but I am quite bullish right now. This chart is just breaking out. I think the altcoins are going to take over and steal the dominance from Bitcoin. And I think a lot of the people that have basically been bucked off this entire time and have given up and gone away are going to be very sad that they left, and they're going to have to ape in at higher prices. And so if we can just keep it cool and collected and identify the risks that we want to take and be okay with wherever the chips lay based on our analysis, then that's basically what we're going to have to do. So anyhow, talk to you later, guys.